family, and welcome to Motherland Media. This is Brother DJ, along with Baba Hekima. Greetings, Baba Hekima. How you doing?
Greetings, brother. I'm doing well.
Good. And to the family, welcome to tonight's broadcast, Uslifting Us Economic Development Cooperative presentation. This is a radio format in a call that we do every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And the call is primarily designed to familiarize those prospective members with our process, with the Uslifting Us Economic Development Cooperative process, what our brand of cooperative economics looks like, what it means, and more importantly, what is it that it can do for you and the rest of our race family. Did you want to add anything to that brief description, Baba Hekima, before we go ahead and go into a little bit more detail?
Just to say that we're hopeful that the brothers and sisters joining us from around the country and around the world have had an opportunity to go to our website, hopefully have gone through our online presentation, and are here this evening with a tablet full of questions. The primary purpose, or one of the primary purposes of our Thursday call, is to provide additional information for those brothers and sisters who would naturally have questions. So that would be all I would add, Brother DJ.
Okay, and definitely thank you for that, Baba. For those of you who have called in on the conference call side, we definitely give thanks for you. And for those of you who may be listening in via internet, if you would like to join in on the conversation, you can give us a call at 646-716-5682. That's 646-716-5682. I do want to quickly describe how this particular call is formatted for those of you who are on for the first time. And like I said, this call is primarily designed for prospective members who have called in or who are listening in from around the world and would like to have more information about Uslifting Us Economic Development Cooperative. Of course, as many of us know, there's a lot of talk around the country about how people of African descent can pull together and really harness the power of that $1.3 trillion and really direct it in a way that can change our collective condition. Well, sisters and brothers, what we've put forth to you and what you will hear is a guaranteed plan on how to accomplish that, on how do we take control of the economics of our community, which is something that most of our people believe is a critical imperative for us to do if we are to really change this state of vulnerability that we face in this country and ultimately around the world. And so we'll go into about a 15-minute presentation that you'll be able to listen to. It'll be an audio presentation, and it's designed to kind of familiarize you, again, with ULU, what we're about, and what our brand of cooperative economics represents. We also encourage you to go to our website for those of you who have not been to our website, and our web address is www.usliftingus.com. That's usliftingus.com. And when you go to the website, we also have the presentation, again, posted on the main page of our website that you will not only be able to listen to but also see. With this particular presentation tonight, it will just be audio, but it will also give you a pretty good understanding of what ULU is and what it is designed to do and how it can benefit you and your family. Okay? Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Baba Hekima, before we go into the presentation?
Just one thing. If you would just increase the volume on the presentation a little bit. I know we turned it down, but we may have turned it down a little too far. So if you would split the difference, and I think we would have an audible presentation that everyone can listen to. It won't be overly loud.
Okay, will do. And again, sisters and brothers, at any time you may have a question or a comment, We encourage you to push the number 1 on your phone. After the presentation is over, we will go into a question and answer session, and feel free to ask those tough questions. Baba Hekima loves those tough questions. That's designed to really challenge us as board members of ULU to think critically about how we really harness our collective resources and direct them in a way that change our situation. So again, at any time you may have a question, feel free to push 1 on your phone, and after the presentation we will come to you and allow you to ask a question or give a comment. Okay? So here it is, the Lifting Us Cooperative presentation. Stand by. This is Brother DJ along with Baba Hekima, board members with Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative, based in Atlanta, Georgia, but with members all around the world. So we're now going to move into our question and answer period. And so again, sisters and brothers, if any of you have any questions or comments for either myself or Baba Hekima, feel free to press the number 1 on your phone. And we'll see your number highlighted, and we will open up your line for a question and or comment. If you have any questions or comments in regards to what you heard during our presentation, would like to have a little bit more clarity, press the number 1 on your phone. And for those of you who are listening in via internet, to join us in the conversation, give us a call at 646-716-5682. That's 646-716-5682. All right, Baba Hekima, did you have anything else you wanted to add as a follow-up to the presentation that can provide a little bit more clarity for people that are listening in?
Yes, brother. Thank you. I think I've listened to that audio presentation at least 1,000 times, maybe more. But it's good because the fundamentals are covered, even though we don't see the graphics. But there is so much foundation there, and without that foundation, we're really not going to be able to build the structure, the machinery that we must build. And so one of the things I know that from time to time it comes through clear in the questions that are asked or the inferences that are made is that it's still some confusion about the difference between group economics and group-owned economics or cooperative ownership. And so it's imperative that listeners really grasp the importance and the power inherent in an institution, an economic institution that's as broad as we are building, owned by tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and potentially millions of people owning an enterprise together and pooling their resources, not only their money, their will. And so I just know that more and more we've got to make that clarification, because a lot of times we think that just because we support each other, we do business with each other, then that's enough. And we often say that in addition to building a platform that allows us to gain greater economic control of our community, we're also involved in the engineering and the maintenance of a new economy. Across the globe, there's this phrase, the new economy. It's in America, it's in Canada, it's in Europe, it's in Central and South America, it's in Asia. It's understanding the need for economic democracy. This whole notion of democracy is pressured and pushed in the political arena, but they don't talk about democracy in the economic arena. because
Mm-hmm.
that's the area of the corporations, and money talks, and in that arena. But part of what we are teaching, part of what we are building from, is this concept of mutual or group ownership. And the legal term, in terms of business form, is generally cooperatives. And so I just want to make mention and just kind of take this time to press our members to think, and our guests to think of the power and the fairness of group ownership over and above individual ownership. Now, we know that for probably forever we're going to have individual ownership, and we want to support that. But if we're talking about gaining power, just to have more individually owned businesses and to increase our support of those businesses will probably not be all that we need. Our position is that it will not be. What we need are platforms where millions of us have the opportunity to own the enterprises together and to profit from them. So I just throw that out as we entertain any questions or comments from those who have joined us on the call.
Okay, and thank you for that. And again, for those of you who may have a question or a comment, feel free to press 1 on your phone, and we'll open up your line for a question or a comment. Bobby Kim, I want to ask you a question. Now, what do you say to those who may feel that cooperative economics, specifically the ULU brand of cooperative economics, takes away from what a person may be able to do or maybe have done under entrepreneurship? Are they diametrically opposed, or are they able to work in alignment or some form of synergy with each other? What do you say to those who have been successful as an entrepreneur under this present system? What's in it for them to kind of throw their hat in the ring of cooperative economics?
That's a great question, and I know it's a concern. But the success of ULU will enhance the opportunities for success for our individually owned business enterprises. It will give that enterprise a customer base that they otherwise might not have, a product mix that they otherwise may not have, and certainly the opportunities for partnerships and collaborations that may not otherwise exist. So I'm suggesting to you that the greater penetration of black-owned businesses, whether they're individually owned or whether they're co-ops in our communities, creates a more vibrant atmosphere for every business type. And what the co-op does is put us in a position to be able to deal with business at a greater scale in terms of manufacturing, in terms of transportation and shipping. And those plants, those platforms will make it easier and more attractive for the individually owned business or the entrepreneur. So it's a win-win situation for the whole community. We should go into business. We should build those businesses as big as we can. And one of the beautiful things about ULU, when you go on our member list, I dare say probably 50% of our members are business owners. Maybe not that, but and even when you see just the individual or the married couple listed on our turtle list, on our membership list, we know from conversation that many of them are business owners as well. So that's a great question, Brother DJ. And I guess the analogy we see in our communities, there are parts of our communities that are business centers where businesses cluster. And businesses don't separate. They come into the same area because you draw more traffic. And there's a greater opportunity when people know that that's a marketplace or that's a business district, that there can be some collateral benefit. So the same thing is true with the cooperative model. As we build these platforms and deal with scale at a level that we don't often see, it creates a more beneficial environment for every business model in our community.
Yeah, listening to your answer to that question, it put me in the mind of different marketing strategies, right? In terms of passive marketing and aggressive marketing, it's almost like fishing. When a person can fish with a fishing pole, or they can fish with a net, where they simply scoop fish, hundreds and thousands of fish at a time. That's fishing also, or you can just simply fish with a fishing pole and catch one fish at a time. So the passive, marketing and the aggressive marketing, in terms of what cooperative economics can really bring for a business owner or entrepreneur when they're a part of a marketing campaign or an aggressive marketing strategy that is cooperative in its nature. So everyone benefits from that approach. So you're not out there by yourself trying to figure it out on your own. That's one of the things that I really see Uplifting Us being able to provide to business owners, is that big net kind of thing, being aggressive with our marketing and being able to bring hundreds and thousands of people into Ulu Marts and into smaller projects all over the country. And our members benefit exponentially. So great answer and great example. We do have a caller. Let's go ahead and take this caller, 7984. 7984. Please state your name and where you're calling from, please. Your line is open.
Oh, yeah, this is Roderick Jernigan calling from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Greetings, brother.
All right, my greetings to you all. My question is, even though, cooperative and economically it will help our black community as far as bringing in the wealth, but what does that do for us as on the political ramification of what's going on, in our black communities with the black-on-black crime and those things like that?
Okay. Brother had a question specifically about how would cooperative economics address some of the social ills that we see in our community. You want to take that, Baba Hakeem?
Yeah, I'll take it, and then you I'm sure you'll have something to follow up with. But greetings, brother. This is Hakima. Glad to hear your voice. Yes. Thank you for calling, and thank you for that good question. The politics, well, I'll just simplify it in this way. Dr. John Henry Clark says that economics is how you take care of your basic needs, and of course some of those may go into wants. Politics is how you organize your economics, and then culture is how you season the other two. I know it's more complicated than that, but one of the goals, the major goal of ULU, of Uplifting Us, is to gain control of the economics of our communities and nations. And that goal, even though we say it's economic, but it's for a political purpose, is so that the floor or the foundation of community is firmed up so that we can then address the structures that impact us, the political structures, the social structures that impact us. And certainly where communities have been able to exercise economic control, the natural thing that follows is greater political control. And you're so right. We've got to concern ourselves with the structures under which we live. Many times they negatively impact our individuals in the community, our families, and other institutions. So the cooperative movement that we're talking about is to position us, because we have greater economic control, to be in a position to affect political and other social realities in our local communities. They're one and the same. It's really about us being self-determined and being in a position to control the economic, political, and cultural life of our community. And so what usliftingus does is take the leadership in building large-scale, cooperatively owned business enterprises, and we know that there are other organizations and institutions that take the lead in political awareness, political education, political action, and we join with those, but clearly we don't take the lead in that perspective lane. We focus on the lane of building the large-scale, cooperatively owned business enterprise. And I'm sure Brother DJ will add to that as well. But thank you for the question, brother.
Yeah, and we'll also, give you an opportunity to ask a follow-up question, brother, if you have one. I would just add that, there's not really much in terms of the human condition that is not first determined by a person, an individual, or group standing economically. In other words, when we lack the ability to take care of our responsibilities as men and women, that produces a tremendous amount of stress on us, individually as well as collectively. Can also lead to health problems in the whole nine. I don't know too many people who wake up in a good mood when they know from the time that they wake up that they don't have sufficient resources to go throughout the day, the month, the year, what have you. And so a lot of our interpersonal relationships with each other are determined by our economic standing, our economic viability in our individual households, but also within the community. And so what ULU, or usliftingus, is proposing is essentially a stabilizing mechanism for our entire community and race family globally, because it provides us then with the anchor that we need to harness the collective resources that we have and then direct those resources in a real way to solve many of the problems that we know of, you see, that we see plaguing our community day in and day out. And so to solve issues of black-on-black crime, poverty, violence, many of those things, a lot of the issues, not all, but a lot of the issues that we face in our community are economically based. And they're economically based because we have not yet developed the ability to take control of our collective lives. And much of that is tied to our resources. So, brother, definitely thank you for your question. It was a great question and a timely question. Do you have a follow-up?
No. You all, explained everything, well and everything, and I understand this is about more building our communities economically, and like brother said, that it's not far as, leading the way in politically, but basically building our communities up, and which is, a great idea.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Brother DJ, I'd like to follow up with a kind of an example. Many of us in the cities have friends and associates from Guyana, South America. And at a point, that nation-state was actually a black-run republic or government. I'm not sure the structure of it. But the East Indians pretty much stayed out of politics, and they focused on economics. And just gradually, over the years, they sold up industry after industry, market after market, and when they had sufficient penetration, and then they came into the into the political arena, and they came in with a gusto, and they took state power. And so currently now, in a country that was only a few years ago a black-run country, is now run and controlled by the East Indians because they kept their eye on the economic ball and didn't prematurely show their hand politically. Now, obviously, we've got to do both, and hopefully we do well at both. But certainly our recent history in terms of black mayors, black city council persons where we were the majority, even some black governors, black persons in Congress, and more recently, of course, a black president of the United States. And even when we had, again, political clout, it very often didn't translate to economics. And so we found in most of those cases, especially in the cities where we had black mayors, a continuous decline in the quality of life for our people, even though symbolically we were controlled politically. And so I just offer that as an example. And I think we can find examples throughout the world where people may have had political control, but they didn't have economic control. And so the conditions of their people were at peril, and they were not able to secure and sustain the quality of life that they would have wanted for their people for lack of economic control and dominance.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. And again, sisters and brothers, for those of you who may have a question or a comment, on the call-in side, go ahead and push 1 on your phone. Push the number 1 on your phone, and we'll see your phone number highlighted, and we'll go to you and allow you an opportunity to ask a question or give a comment. And also for those of you who are listening in via internet, you can give us a call to join in on the conversation at 646-716-5682. That's 646-716-5682. You know, Baba Hikima, that question actually sparked, it made me think about Ulu, I guess, in a much broader sense, in terms of the economic anchor, so to speak, and how once this particular brand of cooperative economics really galvanizes itself in our community, it becomes a formidable force in terms of being able to push back on a lot of the regentrification that has taken place within our cities and towns all across this country. Because from what I've come to understand is that the reason why these folks are able to push us out of our communities is because, number one, we don't have jobs that are rooted in, number one, in our community to begin with. We're oftentimes having to go to work in places outside of our community. Number two, we haven't really been able to successfully target our resources in a way that build the businesses that we need inside of our community, within a few square miles of where we live. And so we wind up going to work outside of our community, and consequently we spend our money outside of our community as well, and that leaves us in too vulnerable of a position because our communities are already weakened by the lack of resources. You want to follow up with that?
No, I fully appreciate where you're going with that, and continue. But business districts are anchors for a community, and if you don't have strong a business sector and business districts, then I'll just mention this. When I moved to the Midwest in the 1960s, there was a community that I lived in for a very short period of time on the south side of Milwaukee, where it was you could not get permits to improve your property. It had already been slated for gentrification. This is in the 60s. And so all kinds of measures are taken where your area is slated for takeover, for gentrification. And you don't have sufficient anchors there to fight that off. And so what I hear you saying, and we know it's true, is that the communities that we identify as our turfs, the anchors are going to be businesses. It's not the anchor is not the person that you elect to represent you in City Hall. The anchors are your business penetrations. And maybe even beyond that, the residential communities that you build and sustain, the institutions that you put in there, but primarily those that are identified as businesses. And those are not only in America, but throughout the world. When you see these beautiful postcards of these cities and areas that people visit, these are business districts. And so the same is true for us. If we don't own, control businesses in industries and sectors that we then use as anchors in our own communities, creating jobs, stimulating additional economic activity, and building and sustaining institutions, then some would say they're really not communities, that they're simply neighborhoods. And so I agree totally with your logic and your thinking. And it's fundamental to not only communities around the world today, but communities around the world historically have been anchored by strong economic sectors of that people, that group, whatever they may have been called, again, at whatever time period in the history of man.
Yeah. And you know, as I move throughout the city of Atlanta, and I'm sure it's this way in most other major cities, just really thinking about what it is that I see, because oftentimes, you know, this society wants to tell us that what we see is normal. In other words, don't question what it is that you see. But if you pay attention to what's going on in Buckhead Town, Atlanta, you will see a level of development or redevelopment that is unprecedented. And what you actually see taking place is what is called live, work, and play community, right? And so as I travel throughout the city, I see all of these different enclaves popping up, mainly in Buckhead and Midtown Atlanta, that are live, work, and play communities. In other words, where you live, where you work, and where you entertain yourself is essentially in the same area. So you don't have to drive anywhere. The most you would need to take is public transportation, and oftentimes you could just ride a bike or walk to the movie theater, you know, to the local bar or what have you. Everything is right there where you live, your job, and everything else. And so they understand how to fortify a community and not allow the community to be taken over through gentrification. Now, when you look at how our communities are structured, we oftentimes don't have live, work, and play communities where we live. We are having to travel outside of where we live to go to work and then somewhere else to find some level of entertainment. You see, and all of these things leave us, again, in a very vulnerable position, because if we don't have the jobs where we live, then how do we provide that economic anchor? It's not enough to just say, hey, I pay my property taxes and that's going to keep my community viable. No, it's not. Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs that employ hundreds and thousands of people in those communities? This is what ULU is proposing. This is what we know we have to do in order to stabilize this economic hemorrhage that is now taking place with our people in this country. That's an alley-oop for you, Baba Hakeem.
Yeah, brother. Our 10-point appeal and plan, which is the first thing that a person would see when they go to our website, really lays out the outline, the skeletal structure of that new black economy. We have no scarcity of resources. What we have a scarcity of is intention or intent or motive. If our motive is to control the economics of our community, and for everyone on this call, I'm sure that's our motive, that's our intent, then those 10 points really lay out how we do it. We simply pool our resources and target them towards building and sustaining new businesses in our own community. Of course, the businesses that ULU will develop and run or organize cooperatively. But again, the question earlier about entrepreneurs, hopefully we will stimulate additional economic activity. And even though we feature the market and exchange, but we will be involved in businesses in every sector that you can think of: transportation, energy, agriculture, broadcast, communications, everything that you can imagine that a community would need to be well-rounded and to be protective of its interests. And of course, the major feature is the creation of hundreds and then thousands and then tens of thousands of new jobs. But this discussion of fortifying our communities cannot be left up to one entrepreneur succeeding or not succeeding, another entrepreneur succeeding or not succeeding. And that's where we are today. It has to be something bigger and stronger and more substantial than that. It has to be a well-thought-out economic strategy that binds us together. And because we are bound together as owners in a large-scale cooperatively owned enterprise, we can then build in the patterns of behavior and follow-through that would support this new economy. In a position where we are culturally the patterns that you would expect. A lot of times we talk about, let's say the Korean community, and we make an inference as to what they're able to do. Well, I don't know their culture that well, but I'm sure that there are patterns ingrained in their culture that even if it's an individually owned enterprise, there's a certain way that you have to do business, and there's a certain way that those businesses have to relate to families and other institutions in that culture. So we don't see the inner workings of that. But what ULU does in its wisdom and foresight is build in some patterns based on the fact that we are all owners of an enterprise together. So we then bring into play and nurture and build those reciprocal patterns of community that are so necessary to sustain and grow a community. So the 10 points, and by the way, I want to encourage everyone when they go to our website and look at the 10 points, don't just look at them. Put your cursor over top of that document, click it one time, and it turns into a PDF. I'm encouraging everyone, member, non-member, to go through that exercise, print out several copies of those 10 points and share them with persons that you know as you move about in life, as you travel throughout the country and throughout the world. Just share that one sheet with people. We're going to be pleasantly surprised in the years to come, the stories that someone passed a 10-point appeal and plan to me 10 years ago when I was in the Bahamas or when I was in Brazil or when I was in London. We want to begin to pass that document because it's the foundation of what it is that we're building. It's the foundation of a new thinking, of a new approach, of an empowered approach to economics in our community, but it's also a practice, a format that other people in the world, not just Africans or not just African Americans, but other people in the world are seeing that group ownership is the way of the future, the economics of the 21st century and beyond. And so our 10-point appeal and plan is right on time. So if you don't cut me off, DJ, I'll be rambling all night.
No, you're good. I mean, you brought us right into the top of the hour. So, yeah, that was right on time. That was right on time, and a great follow-up to my comment as well. But before we end the session tonight, I do want to give callers an opportunity to call in or give their comment or question if you have any. So those of you who may have called in, if you have a question or a comment for either myself or Baba Hekima, please ask your question at this time by pushing the number 1 on your phone. Push the number 1 on your phone, and we'll open up your line for a question and or comment. It's been a great session. Again, a lot of helpful information has been shared, and we hope that this information has been helpful for those of you who have not really taken that step to become actual members. We hope to have provided some level of information so that you can make an informed decision about joining this economic cooperative, which is in a lot of ways the only real way to guarantee victory for our people. We talk about a lot of things that we could do economically, and some people are even talking about trying to revitalize Black Wall Street, bringing up things from the past and try to bring it forward, so that we can gain a better footing economically in this country. But unless and until we believe we get serious about forming cooperatively owned businesses, large scale, that have the ability to employ hundreds and thousands of our people, we're going to be still dealing with these issues, economic issues at its root for years to come. So, again, we have an opportunity to change that reality for ourselves and for future generations. And it all starts with you, sisters and brothers, taking that first step and saying, hey, I want to be a part of one of the most progressive economic movements in the history of our people. And it only costs you $50 a year. $50 a year is all it takes for you to be able to make a tangible effort to change the conditions of our people economically in this country. Baba Hekima?
And I think you mentioned a little earlier, Brother DJ, we have members scattered throughout the country, and we're in 5 countries now, but we're formatted where we can have members throughout the world. But we are in stage 1. We're in the formative stages of building out this platform. And for those of you who are here now, you're at a very special place because you're going to be instrumental in firming up the foundation that others will come to later and benefit from. But as we know, those of us who are in the trades, or building trades, or those of us who've at least looked at it, if you don't build a strong foundation, you're in trouble. And the larger the structure that you want to build, the deeper and the wider and the firmer the foundation must be. And so we're in that formative stage, the foundation building stage now. And the reason we offer special benefits for members who are in this phase, because this is the phase that's toughest. Many of our brothers and sisters will hear the ULU message, and they'll say, well, that's nice. I understand it. It makes sense to me, but I'm going to sit over here in the bleachers until, you get further down the road. And so we procrastinate, and we do that, it seems, habitually. But there are enough of us who already understand the necessity of the time, so that I just mentioned that this is the formative stages. This is not the stage where you're having victory parades, not yet. But there will come soon. And so we're asking brothers and sisters to do your due diligence. Go on our website and go through the presentation and request additional information. You'll receive instantly our 22-page operating agreement, our 4-page values and ethics document, and other information. And if you see and if you sense that this is what our people should be doing, that is beneficial, join with us. Request a membership and roll up your sleeve and join with us on a committee if you have additional time, and help us build out the machinery of true economic empowerment for our people, not only here in the U.S., but to do what we do here and join with our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, Central and South America, Africa, Europe, wherever we are on the planet. And I would dare say that 90%, if not more, of any opposition that we will ever face is in our heads. It's not in the real world. There's nothing stopping us from doing what it is that we know that we should do, except that we've been bred with fear, uncertainty, doubts, and we're not going to eradicate those. We just have to muster up sufficient courage to move forward in spite of our fears, in spite of past pain, whatever it is. But in the real world, there really is not anything credible in the real world that's stopping us from doing everything that we know we must do. The opposition is in our heads and in our belief system. But we can overcome that, and we are overcoming that.
Thank you, Baba Hekima. And again, we're on this call every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We thank all of you who have called in. To our brother who asked a question, thank you for your question. For those of you who listened in via internet. And again, we hope that this particular session was informative as well as inspiring and also educational for you to make that next step. Take that next step and actually become a member of Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative. Us Lifting Us. We're doing it ourselves. We all we got because we're simply all that we need. And we'll be back on again next week, same time, same place. Peace, family.